Hello everybody, welcome back to Bumble Stitches podcast. This is episode 23. It is Monday, just checking my notes, the 2nd of April, and it's lovely to be back again with you. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Bumble Stitches, and you can find me on Etsy as Bumble Stitches Store. And this is my podcast about knitting, no sewing this week, and just the things that I've been up to. Now, if you've watched the podcast before, you might notice that we're in a little bit of a different surroundings today. I've been doing quite a lot of sewing in the past few days, or the past week really, and the other side of my sort of craft room is a little bit messy to say the least, and it would have taken far too long to tidy it all away and then get it all out again for sewing later. So I thought I'd sit over this side of the room, and I'm on the spare bed. It's like a metal sort of day bed, so I'm perched in the corner, and I'm hoping it's going to be comfortable for me, and I'm hoping that a little change of scenery is quite nice for you too. So it's been the long weekend here in the UK for Easter. I know it's Easter everywhere, but we have obviously we have Friday, the weekend, and today, Monday, off work. So it's been really nice to have some time to relax and get on with some knitting and sewing, and just, you know, chill out and see the family. And of course, with it being Easter yesterday, it was a nice family time to have some lunch and swap some chocolate goodies with each other, and just really have a nice relaxing few days off work. Sadly, the weather hasn't been the best. It's been very cold and rainy. Sun made a bit of an appearance yesterday, but I believe some parts of the UK have actually got some more snow, so I really mustn't complain, because where we are is just, it's not really doing anything today. I'm just looking out of the window. It has been raining a bit this morning, but it's relatively bright, so we'll take that. Okay, so I've been quite busy. Obviously, with having a few days off has allowed me to get some serious knitting done. So I'll start off with some finished objects that I'd like to share with you. Now, the first thing I'd like to share is this cowl. This is a cable knit cowl. Colours, that's more true. This is the Love Entwined cowl, and it's a design by Deborah Raymond of the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast, which I'm sure lots of you watch, and if you don't, you should really go and check it out, because it's such a lovely podcast with Deborah and her sister Emily. So do check those ladies out. I'm sure you'll enjoy their podcast. It's really, really good. This is Deborah's first pattern, I believe, and I was really honoured to test knit this for her. So this is knitted in the round, and it's a cable design that you can see. And as the name suggests, love entwined, it's representative of hearts entwined running down the length of the cable. And it's really, really pretty. And it was such a lovely knit. Really, really enjoyed the whole process, really. Everything about this has been a joy to work on. I've knitted my Love Entwined cowl in Beehive yarns, and this is the gilded colourway on Beth's Barbarella base. And you can see, I don't know if you can see if the light's catching it, the gold stellina in the yarn as well, which makes it really beautiful. And I think the stitch definition is great too. So I'll just show you the, so that's Beth's yarn band there, and you can see that's the gilded colourway on her Barbarella base, and she's Beehive Yarns on Etsy. Now I'll just show you, I'm not going to show you close up because I don't want to give anything away on the pattern, but I don't know if you can see this pattern has got lots of really beautiful additions just to the actual pattern itself. It's such a pretty pattern that Deborah's created here, and I swatched and my gauge was a little bit out, so I did change needle size from that stated in the pattern. But this is a one skein project, the Beehive Yarns was, or is, 400 meters, and that's 437 yards. So that's such a fantastic way of getting the most out of a precious skein of yarn to get such a beautiful cowl as this. So I believe this pattern is going to be released on the 8th of April. So look out for that on Ravelry. And I just can't tell you how much I enjoyed, you know, can't praise it enough, how enjoyable it was to knit and how lovely Deborah was throughout the whole process. It was, you know, really a joy to work with her on this project. Okay, there's been quite a few finished objects this week, which I'm really thrilled about. I'm just going to pop this down here. I'm just going to create a little pile on the floor to tidy up afterwards. Okay, so the next finished object is really, really cute. And you might remember that I'd been working on the doe cap. And this is a pattern by Jenny Gordy. You can see the little ears at the back of the hat. And this is from a pattern from Making magazine. I think it was issue 2. I'm sorry that the light keeps changing. And last time I showed it on the podcast, I hadn't knitted the ears and popped them on. I'd finished the hat. Looks a bit odd with my hand inside, but I'm sure you get the idea. It's got the little I-cord ties here that are knitted onto the base of the hat. And what really makes this for me is the way that the ears sort of hang down. I think on our little baby that is going to look so adorable. So that's the doe cap by Jenny Gordy. This has been knit in John Arbon DK in the Knit by Numbers range, and it's colourway KBN 12. And it's so soft, and I think it's given a nice stitch definition. Super soft, and I think it's going to be perfect for the baby boy that it's intended for, which is my daughter's friend's baby that I believe is due tomorrow, 3rd of April. So this has been finished just in time, and the way the weather is at the moment, I think the baby's going to need a woolly hat, certainly, to keep his little head warm. So that's another finished object that I've done. And to go with that, I have made the Norwegian fur cardigan in the same yarn. This is the John Arbon DK Knit by Numbers in colourway KBN 12 as well. Can't seem to get the colours right. So just a very straightforward little garter stitch, all in one, top down cardigan, and the detailing, as you can see, is here in the raglan. This is the little Norwegian fur design, and I popped a little wooden button on, which I think finishes it off nicely. And this has blocked really, it's really sort of cushiony and springy. I don't know if you can sort of see, it's really got some nice sort of bounce to it, the yarn. It's lovely. So I think that, along with the little doe cap, is going to make a lovely little outfit for the baby when he makes an appearance, hopefully not too much longer for his mum, who apparently is quite uncomfortable now. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting this parcelled up. Lou's bought some lovely little navy blue, and I think she bought some beige sort of velour little boys, like little tracky sort of legging things, which will look really cute with this. All the neutrals will look lovely together. So, and I just thought the colourway was so nice for a baby boy. Really enjoyed knitting these. They're both knitted in the first size of their respective patterns, and I'll show you the this is the yarn, the Knit by Numbers DK and KBN 12, and it is 100% pure Falklands merino wool, organically farmed. I think it's just perfect. I love John Arbon yarns. I think they're such great value, and the colour range is quite extraordinary. The pattern that I used for the cardigan is this one, the Norwegian fur top-down cardigan. and that's by Oj Knitwear Designs, and that's paid for pattern on Ravelry. So I was really pleased to get those finished in time so that we can make sure they're all parcelled up and ready for the cute little boy when he comes, which is really exciting. So I'm hoping to be able to see him as well. As I mentioned, it is my daughter's friend. I'm hoping to get a little cuddle in at some point, and at least see some pictures of the baby in the knitwear would be really lovely. So if I get those, I'll pop them on Instagram so that I can share him modelling them. There is another finished object. I'll just pop these down. Probably hear lots of thuds as I just pop things down on the floor. And the final finished object for this week, so this is finished object number 4, so I'm feeling very pleased with myself. And these are Cyril Socks, and that was the first in the vintage love story collection by Danny of Little Bobbins, and I have knitted these in a homespun house yarn. It was one of the Harry Potter club yarns from last year, and I believe it's called Make-A-Wish Harry. I'll just double check. It's homespun house, and it's soft sock merino, fingering weight, Harry Potter Club, Make-A-Wish Harry. Yes, that's correct. So I don't think it's available because it was a club colourway, but I thought it was a really nice blend with the blues and greens and the naturals and browns. And this was a lovely pattern to knit. I have shared it before on the podcast as a work in progress, but you can see the cables are meant to represent the stones on Danny's vintage engagement ring, which she was the inspiration for the pattern collection. So I knitted these for Justin as part of his birthday presents. It's his birthday a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, 10 days ago, and he has worn them. Virtually as soon as I gave them to him, he wore them. He has decided that he loves hand knit socks, and I think I need to get a few more pairs knitted for him. But I snatched them back and soaked and blocked them so they look presentable to show you today. But I'm really enjoying this collection of patterns from Danny, and the next one in the series is already out, which is the Rita socks. I haven't cast them on yet because I've been quite busy doing the test knit and other bits and pieces, but I have got the pattern printed out, so that will be the next one. And my plan is to knit those for myself, and we can have Cyril socks and Rita socks, which is, you know, quite nice sentiment really, to have his and hers, Cyril and Rita socks. So yes, that's all the finished objects I've got to share with you for this week. But I feel quite happy that I've managed to get quite a lot of my knitting done, clear some needles and get ready to start some new projects, which is always exciting. So pop Cyril down there. I do have a half finished object, which is just behind me here, if I can grab them or grab it. And this is the Wild Rose sock pattern by Helen Stewart. And it's the first in the Handmade Sock Society for this year, which is a club that you subscribe to, and I think there are 6 sock patterns released throughout the year. And this was the first. I think it's Winter Rose, and I just completed this first sock the other evening, and it hasn't been blocked, but I thought I'd pop it on the blocker just so that you can see how lovely the pattern is. I'm not normally one for lacy socks, but this is such a pretty design, traditional heel flap and gusset. And this yarn is, yeah, that's more of a true colour. I don't know why the light's playing up a little bit, but hopefully you can get the gist of it. This is knitted with yarn from Mr. B, and it's the pink champagne colourway, and Mr. B's yarns are available on Etsy at Bird Street UK, and it's knitting up so nicely. I love all the pink speckles, just enough of the darker pink, and of course this lovely soft sort of blush pink. Really, really pretty. I have got the next sock. I cast it on straight away. I haven't got very far. This is as much as I've done, a little bit of the twisted rib. But I thought if I don't get that, at least the cast on done, there's a danger that it will just sit and languish as a single, you know, a solo sock, and I'll get second sock syndrome and it won't get done. And this is my little strawberry frappuccino from Clementine Taco on Etsy as my little progress keeper. I'll show you the yarn in the skein, in the cake rather. So there we go. And see how beautiful that yarn is. And if you're not familiar with Mr. B's yarns, do check them out on Etsy on Bird Street UK. Mr. B, and there's the Bird Street UK pink champagne. And if you weren't aware, there is a Bird Street UK podcast now, which is called the Bird Box Podcast, and the latest edition was live on YouTube today. So do check that out, and it's with Claire and Becky and Mr. B. So the girls have a chat about their knitting and works in progress and finished objects and acquisitions, and then Mr. B chats about yarn coming up in the shop and things that he's working on, clubs and things like that. So it's a really good watch. So do pop over and check them out on YouTube and show them a little bit of love. Just pop that back in there. I'm going to have to check my notes because there's quite a lot of things I want to make sure that I cover in today's podcast. And I think we're definitely deep into the whip zone now. Oh yeah, next is, we're just talking about Bird Street UK. This is my lovely sheep project bag. It was made by Claire, Bird Street UK. And I love it. It's a really, you can see, it's a big, deep bag, and it's perfect because I've got a sweater in here, which I'm going to show you. And this was some yarn that I bought at Unravel a few weeks ago. It's more John Arbon yarn. And it is, she says, rummaging in the bag. This is the door sweater, and it's by Amy Miller. And the lovely Jules of So Sweet Violet knitted this sweater a while ago and showed it on her podcast, and I think it's probably on her Ravelry as well. And it's such a stunning design, and you can see what I really liked is this this very deep exaggerated split hem and the moss stitch detail down the side of it. So I thought it's a really nice sort of layering garment to wear in the spring and summer. And this is being knit in John Arbon Knit by Numbers 4-ply, and this is KBN 53, which is beautiful yellow. It reminds me, if I don't know about everywhere else in the world, but certainly in the UK, as a kid I can remember Mum making custard with Bird's custard powder, and this is the exact shade of that powder when you first mix the powder with a little bit of milk and sugar before you add all the milk to it, and it's quite a sort of quite a, well, this shade of yellow really. It's a shame the camera isn't really picking it up. It's making it look much more pastel on the screen, but it's a lovely shade of yellow, very springy. And I was so good, I actually knitted a swatch for this jumper sweater, and it's blocked up really well. Really like this. I used this same yarn for my Birkin sweater, and it does peel. I think most people who've used Knit by Numbers will agree that it does peel, but I've got a gleaner, so I'm not worried about that. But it's so soft, it blocks, washes and blocks beautifully. It's a really, really nice yarn, and it is the colour range that does it. It's just, you know, a fabulous range of colours. So anyway, let me show you the sweater. I'm rambling on. Now, because this is mostly, well, it's all stockinette, it's curling up like anybody's business. I think it's going to be quite difficult to show you. But this is the back. It's knitted from the top down. So there was some short row shaping at the top and then into the armholes. And then you can see the moss stitch detail along the edge, both edges, because that will be the sides that go into that lovely exaggerated split hem. And I've got on here, as it's Easter weekend, this super cute little bunny progress keeper from Jules at So Sweet Violet. I'm sorry, my camera work today is awful. I think it's because I'm trying to lean forward. It's not doing my back a lot of good, but hopefully you can get the gist and see properly. So this is just acres and acres of stockinette, but it's great because I can just grab it when I'm watching TV, and it's, you know, it's a bit of a no-brainer really. Little twiddly bits at the end with a moss stitch or seed stitch, and then just, yep, rows of stockinette. So I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying it in this bag. I think it's really lovely. There's some rustling in here. I think some mini eggs might have snuck in here, which match the yarn perfectly. And also in here I have got my little sheep progress keeper that came with the bag. He's super cute, and once Easter Bunny's hopped off, he'll be going back on the project. I've got 4 skeins of this for this project, and I'm hoping it will be enough, but you can see how much I've done on the back already, and I'm still that way through the first skein, so hopefully it will. I checked all the yardage, and as I say, I did do a swatch, which is unusual for me. I have been a very naughty knitter in the past, and whenever I've done a project I've kind of ignored the swatching bit and just hoped it would all turn out for the best. Although many years ago, back when I was probably late teens, early 20s, I can remember knitting a sweater that had like an intarsia. It was from a Disney knitting book. It was very 80s, and it was a big oversized electric blue sweater with an intarsia design of, I think it was Pluto on the front, Pluto the dog. So I bought all this yarn and made this sweater, and I just had to keep buying more and more of this electric blue yarn to finish the project. And by the time I finished it, it was down to, it was like a sweater dress. It was, which was kind of a thing in the 80s, I guess, so it wasn't too bad. But this thing was huge, and it was, probably should have taught me all I needed to know about how important gauge was. But yes, regardless, I have been naughty and been quite lucky and got away with it on things that I've knitted so far. But I have been knitting gauge swatches, certainly for this sweater, and also for the cowl that I showed you at the beginning of the episode that I test knitted for Deborah. So yeah, I think knitting a swatch is probably the way to go. And it is, yeah, I have had to change needles on a couple of things, just, you know, just up or down one size. So it's, yeah, there's a lesson there that I think I've finally learned. So yeah, that was my door sweater, loving that, and hoping to get a lot more on that now. Some of the other things are off my needles. Last work in progress is my A Girl's Best Friend shawl by Isabel Kramer, and that's living in my fringe bag with all my pins on. But I've had a little bit of hiccup with the stitch count, so I haven't done much on it. And you can see I had to rob, I've got some little panda cable stoppers on here. These are actually higher cable stoppers, but they do fit on the Chiagu cables as well, so there you go, handy. I had to rob the needles off of this project and pop onto something else. I do need to actually get some more Chiagu. I might get some fixed circulars, because it's certainly from like 3.25 up to 4 mils. Most of the projects I knit seem to fall somewhere in those sort of needle sizes, and I'm forever stealing needles off one project to pop on another. But anyway, back to this. This is the Girl's Best Friend shawl by Isabel Kramer. And as I showed you on the last podcast, I've done the first section, which is this textured section here. And then there was a stripe of the brown, and then it's going into the speckled section. And my stitch count was a little bit out, and I was busy finishing off the test knit and trying to get the baby stuff done. So I just popped these on and thought I can worry about that another time. So I need to get back into the swing of this project. I have shared the yarns before. They are Hickory, which is a Hillview Farm BFL Dabbler base. This one is punch, I think. I need to check that. I think it's punch. Punch. Yes, that one's punch. Hillview Farm. Lovely tags, these sort of embossed gold on the heavy grey cardstock. Really lovely. And the final yarn is from Fine Fish Yarns, and this is called Heartstrings on the coarse sock base. That's from Terry at Fine Fish Yarns, and these were all purchased at Unravel too. So I do need to get back into the swing of that project. I'll just show you the photograph pattern, girl's best friend, and it's the pom-poms that really did it for me with this pattern. And that is all the whips that I have. I'm sure there will be some other things added. I've got some things to share with you that are on my list of things to get cast on. And there might be a couple of acquisitions as well, so there may be some new yarn involved. So there's been lots of knitting action, which I'm really pleased about. Pop that down there as well. Got quite a pile going on down there. Okay, so I'm just going to check my notes to make sure I haven't missed anything, and then I will move on to giveaways and winners of the cowl. So I'm going to start off by reminding you that in my Ravelry group, the Bumble Stitches podcast group, on which you can find on the groups tab on Ravelry, please do come and join. It'd be lovely to see you over there. I'm running a year-long cowl called the Old and New Cowl, and it's very simple rules. All you have to do is knit using old yarn, so existing stash, and knit a new pattern with it, a pattern that's new. Doesn't need to be a new release, but that is new to you. And then there's a chatter thread that's going to run throughout the whole of the cowl, but there will be monthly threads for your finished objects, and at the end of each month I will close the thread and draw a winner, and there are some prizes along the way, which makes it all very exciting. And I have to say, there have been so many lovely projects. Lots of stash has been liberated, people using up things that they've had for a very long time, and I'm sure feeling very pleased about that. So without further ado, the prize for March is this beautiful project bag, this lovely duck egg blue and natural coloured linen with the duck egg blue at the bottom. It's got the lovely little handle at the side there and the little hearts on the zip pull there. And this was very kindly and generously donated as a podcast to the podcast as a prize for the knit along by Duckpool Lane, and that's Duckpool Lane on Etsy. So thanks once again for that. It's a lovely bag and a lovely prize. It is crinkling, but I haven't taken it out of the bag, so I wanted to keep it pristine, because there's been so much flying lint and odd threads in this room. I've been sewing up bags like a crazy woman. It probably would have had to have a going over with the lint roller, but it's been safe in its little cellophane bag. And yes, I know, get on with it, Nicola. So, okay, there were 10 posts in the FO thread for March, and obviously mine was the first. So I did random.org between numbers 2 and 10, and the number that random.org chose was post number 10, and that is Shell J33, which is Michelle from Hull in the UK. So congratulations, Michelle, you've won this beautiful bag, project bag from Duckpool Lane, which I'm sure you'll be really excited to receive. And Michelle knitted, she actually knitted, sorry, I have to lean right across, ouch, and hit myself on the head. She actually knitted these socks, the Winter Rose socks by Helen Stewart from the Handmade Sock Society. And she did a pair of those in some beautiful yarn, which was called Easter Sprinkles. So really, really fitting, really appropriate. They were beautiful and very well done. And very well done to everybody that got finished objects into the March thread and played along. I really, really appreciate it. And it's lovely to see all the things that you've made. They were all beautiful, and I wish I could give you all a prize. But I hope you'll all be very pleased for Michelle. So Michelle, if you can contact me and let me know your postal address, I will get your project bag off to you as soon as possible. I'm not going to throw that on the floor, I'm going to place it carefully. Okay, so there was also a giveaway that I put a thread up in the Ravelry group last time, which was for the pinwheel mitts, and that was a pattern from Loop London for colourwork mittens, fingerless mitts. And I bought the yarn in Loop and the pattern. I did cast them on. It wasn't really a project for me, so I did frog the small amount that I'd knitted on the first mitten and decided that rather than sit in my stash forevermore, I would offer them as a giveaway for anyone else that would like to try colour work on those mitts. So just to remind you, this is the pattern, Loop London pinwheel mitts, and you can see they're such a lovely design. They've got the little folded over cuff or edge here, the lovely design there, some more pictures on the back, and they are lovely. It wasn't really working for me, so as I said, I thought I'd let somebody else enjoy them. So this is a printed pattern. I won't open it inside because all the pattern and the charts are in there, and just to emphasize that I don't have this stored digitally anywhere, so it has been purchased in person and will be sent by post to the winner. So the yarn that comes with it in the giveaway is the yarn that the pattern recommends, and this is the Isaga Highland wool, 100% wool, made in Peru, and it's the charcoal, and I think the other colourway is rose. So it includes the pattern and these 2 cakes of yarn, and there is more than enough there to knit 1 pair of mitts, and possibly if you reverse the colourways round, enough to do a second pair, but certainly enough to do 1 pair. And I asked you all to mention in the thread why you would like to win the pattern and the yarn, and the winner said she would like to have a go at colour work and this would be her first project. And that winner was post number 9, which is White Cliff Knits. And I don't know your name or whereabouts you are, that information isn't on Ravelry. So White Cliff Knits, if you can contact me with your details, I will get the pattern and the yarn sent off to you. And I hope you enjoy your first colourwork pattern. They are beautiful mitts and I'm sure that you'll get on just fine with them. So congratulations to you, and thank you again to everybody that entered the giveaway. So while I'm still in giveaway mode, I will open a thread in the group for finished objects for April for the old and new cowl, so that you can start popping your projects in there. And just to let you know, I think somebody had mentioned on the chatter thread that they just missed out on finishing their project in time for the March thread. The way I view this knit along is that it's quite relaxed. I'm not going to be a stickler for rules and delete anybody or not allow anything or anything like that. I'm just happy that you're taking part, and it's a part of our little friendly community and part of the whole reason why the group's there, just for people to have fun and be relaxed about things. So if you have a project that you started in March but you didn't finish it in March, that's fine. Finish it in April and pop it in the April thread. I really don't mind. I just love to see what you're knitting and that you're taking part. So please do feel free to just carry on. Pop the objects into the relevant month's thread as you finish them. So for April, I will open that thread later on today, and I have got, you're probably aware that there's the Marie Curie Cancer Fund, which is Marie Curie offer nursing support for and palliative sort of nursing support for people, and they are fantastic. I can't speak highly enough of Marie Curie nurses. They were very, very kind to my dad when he was poorly, and they deserve every penny that anyone can give them. So anyway, the Flower Power Fund is a year-long charity incentive or charity drive to donate money to Marie Curie by way of purchasing yarn. And each month an indie dyer is dyeing the yarn for that month, inspired by a flower, and a certain proportion of the cost of the yarn will be donated via the fund to Marie Curie, which I think is wonderful because you get to buy beautiful indie dyed yarn and you get to support that fantastic cause. So the yarn for March was dyed by Beth at Beehive Yarns, and it is called Vintage Daffodil. And she has nailed it on the Vintage Daffodil front. This is such pretty yarn. It's got gold stellina. It's got the sort of very creamy pale yellow, sort of like if you know those narcissus type of daffodils. They've got the very pale outer petals and then the darker centres. And I think she's absolutely got it spot on. So this is the Vintage Daffodil yarn. And I also got with it a mini skein, which is called Spring Sunshine. And this is on Beth's Audrey base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And the main skein is on the Barbarella base, the same base as my cowl that I shared at the beginning of the podcast. And this is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% gold stellina. And I think together they are beautiful. So I would like to offer these as the April prize for the knit along. So we're still in spring, and I think they are very, very worthy yarns to be for the prize. So keep popping your finished objects in the thread, and then at the end of the month we'll draw a winner for these two. I've discarded my notes over here somewhere, so that's not very helpful, is it? Okay, so I think we need to speak about some future knitting plans, and I have been busy printing off some patterns that I'd like to add to my list, my ever-growing list, which is just as well because my stash seems to be ever-growing as well, so at least the two are matched. And I mentioned earlier the Rita socks by Danny of Little Bobbins, so they will be cast on very, very soon. And I have got a nice sock set of yarn that again, it's a Beehive Yarns. It's a lovely, I haven't got it ready to show you right now, but I'll probably have it cast on as a whip for next podcast. And I'm going to do contrasting, what's these called? Heels and toes. So that will be on the needles quite soon. The other pair of socks that I'm looking forward to knitting are these, and these are called Winter's Frost, and these are by Olivia Villarreal. I think is this Handmade Life on Instagram. I might have that wrong, but I think she is. And I can't remember, I printed this, I downloaded this from Ravelry. This may even have been a free pattern. I'll have to check and pop it in the show notes. So that's on my list as well, because that's really, really pretty. And this is definitely a free pattern. And this is from Loop London. And it's called Tiny Tassels. And it's a one skein project with, yep, you guessed it, tiny tassels. And I think it's lovely. It's such a nice design, so simple, but really, really works. And if you've got a one skein of a nice speckle yarn, or any colour really, and a mini that you want to use, I think it will be just perfect. And that is designed by Karen Fernandez. And I think it's on Ravelry, and if it's not on Ravelry, it's certainly on Loop's website, so do go and download your free copy of that pattern. Right, I'm back. Okay, the next thing I wanted to share is a sort of a segue really between planned patterns and acquisitions. Now, in my job, I do a lot of travelling about the country, and last week I was in Cardiff, and as if by chance, the hotel I was staying in was literally a hop, skip and a jump away from a huge John Lewis, which, if you're not from the UK, is a lovely department store and always has a really good haberdashery department. And they don't have a vast amount of yarn, so I wasn't really hopeful of getting any yarn when I went in there, but I just thought it was worth a look. I always like to check out the fabrics and bits and pieces in there anyway. But on a table in there, as I walked into the haberdashery department, they had this beautiful West Yorkshire Spinners signature sock yarn, which is a 75% wool, 25% nylon, and it says it contains 35% blue face Leicester. Now, it's not as soft as merino, but I have knitted socks in this yarn before. I knitted some in one of their Christmas colourways, and it's really, really lovely when it's knitted up and soaked and blocked and then subsequently washed. It's really soft and really hard wearing and gives great stitch definition, and it's such great value. It's like a 100-gram skein or ball or whatever these things are called, and it's like £7. I think these were £7.20 each. I'm sure it varies slightly between retailers, but that's certainly how much it was in John Lewis. So they were a bargain. This colourway is called Flamingo, Pink Flamingo. I did write it down because it's not actually on the ball band. Pink Flamingo, and the contrasting pink is Candy Floss. So on this table of various patterns and bits and pieces, they had these socks knit up as a sample, and they are a simple rib sock designed by Winwick Mum, who has got a very special place in my heart because it's her tutorial that enabled me to learn how to knit socks in the first place. So yeah, I had tried several times to knit socks and really couldn't get my head around it, but if you are somebody that wants to learn to knit socks that doesn't know how to do them, I would highly recommend her tutorial on her blog, which is, I think, if you Google Winwick Mum, you'll certainly find her blog, and I think it's listed in the sidebar. I think it's probably one of her most popular blog posts, and she takes you through the various options of knitting with DPNs, short circulars, sort of 9-inch circulars, and also magic loop. So it's every variant of knitting, and it's in 3 stages: the cast on and the leg, the heel flap and gusset, you know, turning the heel and into the gusset, and then onto the foot and the toe. So if you're somebody that wants to know how to knit socks and you want some help and a really good, no nonsense, easy to understand tutorial, then that's definitely one I would recommend. But back to these socks. It is a simple rib, as you can see, but these socks, when I saw them in the flesh in John Lewis, looked so lovely, and as you can see, they are in these colourways. So I picked it up, and there's a nice option as well inside the pattern booklet, which I'll show you, for knitting the striped version and then the plain version here just in the Candy Floss. So it doesn't actually state if by buying both colourways you can get both pairs, but I would imagine that, bearing in mind this pair here has got the self-striping for the sort of body of the foot, and then the cuff, heel and toe in the contrasting, I would imagine there's more than enough to knit the second pair. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Really, really lovely. The pattern was paid for, and I'm sure I probably could have just done a ribbed sock, like a vanilla latte or something, but it was just nice to get them all together. So that was a little purchase while I was working away, which was lovely. And sadly I didn't have any spare sock needles with me, as I probably would have cast them on straight away that evening. So that's led us into the acquisition section of the podcast, and you'd probably say I'm not trying hard enough, but I am trying not to keep adding to my stash. But everybody keeps dying and making such beautiful things, and it's Instagram's fault. I completely blame Instagram, because whenever I go on there, there's such lovely things, and what's a girl to do? You see them and you just can't stop thinking about them. And in the case of some of the makers out there, if you're not quick, then you miss out. So yes, I have indulged a little bit, so I'll just share with you a couple of bits that I have bought. And one is part of Amy of the Little Tailoress. She had a yarn club up a couple of months ago called the Waitress Sock Set Club, and this is the second instalment. I shared the marshmallow pie set, which was about a month ago, and this was the most recent one. The colourway name isn't on the kit. It's an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, fingering weight sock kit, and 100 grams in the main skein and 20 grams in the mini. And it was something to do with peach pie, but I can't remember exactly. And there were some really yummy peach sort of Haribo gummy sort of type sweets in the parcel, which have gone. And it was all wrapped in beautiful peach tissue paper. So, and as usual, everything that Amy does is stunning. There are some gorgeous little knitting jewellery on here. One is a little tiny peach progress keeper, and the other is a little peach heart stitch marker, which comes as well. But you can see the main colour is beautiful. It's all the shades of peach and pink and sort of corally colours and soft oranges, and it's absolutely delicious looking. And the mini is more of a sort of a corally peachy colour. So I think they're going to make some fabulous socks, and I have got one more month of this to come. So lovely to receive such beautiful skeins of yarn in the post though. So that came last week, I think. Also, the next lady needs no introduction. If I just show you the little card. It's my lovely friend Jules, and she had a collaboration with West Green Loft Yarns for the Knitting Nest kit, which is this beautiful, it's got a bit crumpled, beautiful fabric knitting nest, which is lovely, and that's going to have some socks cast on and live by my end of the sofa in the lounge very, very soon, probably later today. Might sit next to some chocolate from Easter. And it's beautiful. I believe these fabrics are all Tilda fabrics. You can see just how lovely they are, and all the colours, pinks and teals and greens and blues and yellows, everything's included, and the lovely little stamp of the birds with their nest. So that's the knitting nest part of it, and then onto the yarn, which is called Lovebird. And oh my goodness, isn't it just beautiful? I can't remember the name of the lady at West Green Loft Yarns, and I'm really sorry, but your yarn is stunning. This is a thing of beauty. It's got all the colours that are in the fabrics of the nest. Sorry, I've got a bit of crazy bit of hair going on there. And I think this is going to make some beautiful socks. This is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And oh, it's Vicky McIntosh, it says so on the label. West Green Loft Yarns, and I believe she's on Etsy as well. So that was the yarn that came with it, but that wasn't all. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. This beautiful little bird, enamel bird in gold metal. Try and turn him around a little bit so you can see. Suspended in this little glass bottle. So you can just take the cork out, and there he is. And you can just unhook him, pop him on your project. But isn't it the cutest thing ever? It's just so, so pretty. Everything that Jules does is just touched with magic, and I love it. I'm so lucky to be able to get one. So thank you, Jules, for your beautiful, beautiful work, and Vicky for your beautiful yarn. Prior to the kit arriving, I had ordered one of Jules' cute little bumblebee pins as well, which I'd been saving to show you before I popped him on my bag, with his little glittery wings and his lovely cheerful little chubby bee body. I think he's gorgeous. So thanks, Jules, that's really made my day. Well, I think I've finally got to the end of everything I wanted to talk to you about today, and there's been quite a lot, so hopefully you've stayed with me till the bitter end. If you have, thank you. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, please consider subscribing or liking the video so that more people can come and join us and get involved in our knit-alongs and all the things that we like to share as knitters. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.